Iron is the most abundant element by mass in our planet, which commonly exists between its 2 and 3 plus oxidation states. Often overlooked, its cycling is largely connected to other cycles that rely on oxidation and reduction reactions. Iron is about 5.2% of the Earth's crust, while its majority lies core deep. Chemical and mechanical weathering of rocks and minerals release ferrous ions or molecules from the lithosphere into the soil and oceans. The ferric ion particulates from eruptions also contribute to volcanic ash and accumulates with atmospheric dust that circulate in the atmosphere by aeolian winds. From this, iron directly accumulates in waters or indirectly through the cryosphere where deposition and melting occur. Hydrothermal vents within marine environments and river runoffs within freshwater ecosystems are also sources of iron. What about the biotic processes? Iron is a limiting nutrient on productivity for its role in chlorophyll production. Thus, photosynthetic primary producers like plants and some prokaryotes essentially rely on iron to survive. Like phosphorus and nitrogen, iron assimilates from the soil to the roots of the plant. As it is a component of numerous enzymes like the nitrogenase, it holds a role in nitrogen fixation by bacteria. Animals obtain this iron from plants through their diet. Humans mainly use it to produce hemoglobin, which is a protein in red blood cells that carry and circulate the oxygen across our body. As we die, microorganisms reduce iron oxides into ferrous particles in anaerobic conditions. In low pH conditions, microbes can oxidize ferrous particles, while chemical oxidation requires an anaerobic environment. In waters, soluble iron helps phytoplankton growth, which stimulate grazing food chains. When iron sources come short, microbial communities release iodophores which bind to iron oxides, forming a bioavailable complex ready for use again. Through photolysis, the iron oxide siderophore complex is reduced into the Fe2 ligand, which is water insoluble and can be absorbed by marine organisms. Death of these organisms result to iron particulates constantly cycled through upwelling, remineralization, or burial back to the lithosphere. The given unaltered processes are of course massively affected by human activities. Let's figure out some of these.
From the diagram, we can see that the iron cycle circulates through the biotic matter such as the atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. Thus, it greatly affects every life form and is a biologically essential component of every biotic matter or the biosphere. We know that the iron is the most abundant element by mass in the Earth, constituting about 80% of the inner and outer cores. It can also be found in soil or in the ocean from weathering of rocks or through volcanic eruptions. Iron is observed in oxygen transport, DNA synthesis, electron transport, photosynthesis, nitrogen fixation, and nitrate reduction. With such importance to the ecosystem, it may be insufficient to the growing biodiversity despite its abundance. It changes its chemical form when it reacts with oxygen. Just like other biogeochemical cycles, the iron cycle assists in the functioning of ecosystems. It is required in important metabolic and cellular processes in living organisms. Its bioavailability is to take notice of, especially in the hydrosphere.
More than 30% of farmland is potentially iron deficient. Crops with low iron content are considered to be the most common micronutrient deficiency problem in the world. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they have predicted that the global grain production will increase by 70% as the global population is also rapidly increasing. Researchers recommend using eco-friendly iron-unique nanofertilizers to enhance crop environmental quality for a prolonged period of time. This is also important as plant-eating animals get their iron nutrients from plants. The iron availability in seawater dictates the amount and distribution of fish found in the area. Iron supply can be scarce in some areas of the ocean, resulting in decreased growth of phytoplanktons, which require iron for growth and photosynthesis. Researchers stated that the oceans have just the right amount of iron, as too much iron in general or through iron fertilization can stimulate the phytoplankton's growth and take up all of the macronutrients in which none are left to circulate in the oceans.
The human body uses iron for oxygen transport in the blood through hemoglobin. It also aids in DNA synthesis and electron transport. Humans obtain iron by eating plants and meat, and poultry animals consume plants. Hence, the availability of iron in the diet of humans is dependent on the iron uptake of plants. Climate change heavily affects the bioavailability of iron. The increase of CO2 in the atmosphere and ocean acidification messes with the iron chemistry in the marine ecosystem. This results in the poor iron uptake of the microorganisms responsible for converting iron molecules into a form that is easily consumable by other organisms. When the iron cycle is compromised this way, the iron consumed by humans is also affected. Iron deficiency and anemia is a common mineral deficiency encountered worldwide. The most vulnerable groups are menstruating women, pregnant women, and the elderly. Long-term effects of iron deficiency include reduced learning ability, weak immunity, and lower work capacity.
An altered iron cycle is due to climate change and also anthropological reasons like mining runoffs. The iron runoffs can assimilate with air and water, then reacts with oxygen, which forms insoluble iron oxides or rust. This obviously affects water quality and also deprives phytoplankton of their limiting nutrients like iron. We know that phytoplankton needs iron for its photosynthesis and reduction of atmospheric carbon dioxide. If phytoplankton is deprived of iron, this might intensify the effects of climate change, particularly global warming. But according to Emily Underwood, in her article in Smithsonian Magazine, a colony of particular species of phytoplankton can extract iron too from a pool of iron tree in just a short time. This dramatically changes their own productivity, which significantly impacts marine life and global warming, while also improving water quality contaminated with ferric oxide.
As students with limited power to actualize big changes, we believe the most workable and efficient way we can help alleviate problems in our biogeochemical cycles is by lobbying these concerns and advocating for better alternatives. How? All academic institutions, whether public or private, or higher or lower institutions, have student councils. As early as grade school, schools are encouraged to propose environmental projects such as the exercise of the 3 Rs, planting, and doing coastal cleanups, among others. With a very strong regard for student representation, the UP System student councils are the best platforms to lobby these problems and propose pioneering projects that can be adopted by other institutions. For example, we can propose community projects on the use and processing of alternative and organic options to synthetic fertilizers that harm the soil system in the long run, such as humates, composting, or the use of coffee grounds. Echoing such projects until the government, or at least private institutions, start following through is a practical way of actualizing our goals as advocates of the living system.